Okay, just wanted to expand upon a commonly covered subject in ASAT training. It's kind of brushed over just because of the ease of access of getting in the cockpit and seeing what we're talking about. Usually a lot of heads poking in here at once, trying to look at these switches we're talking about. So I'll take a couple minutes and show you common egress order of operations and switch locations that some of you may have just glanced over somebody's shoulder at one point and called it good. Here's a closer look at what we're talking about. So an egress situation could be after a dual pilot incapacitation, a hard landing, an ejection, you're sole survivor but the aircraft's still on the ground, blades turning. Could have a fire involved, you're trying to get yourself out, but the pilots are of no help to you because they're either unconscious or not around anymore. Of course, you will be sitting in the back of the helicopter here, quite often covered by this nighttime MVG sheet to cut out light pollution for the pilots. That's easily tearable off the Velcro. Mounted along the door seam. You do have a seat that you're sitting in that rotates, moves forward and backwards, and folds all the way down flat. In a situation where these two wide back doors are not an option for egress, the front door, pilot's door, is your last hope. If the aircraft is still turning, blades are turning, there is a fire, blades might not be turning, but both engines are screaming at 107%. And you have time during your egress and passing through the cockpit over the pilot or nobody here anymore. There are a few things that could help save you and expedite your safe exit from the helicopter. The first thing, the most common thing we talk about are the T-handles. And those are right here. Light them up for you here. So if there's a fire, the detector will go off and it'll actually light up those lights telling you there is a fire back in the engine compartment. They may not be lit up. This is just purely to show you which T-handles we're talking about here. There's only two. When lit up, they look like that. So you would grab that T-handle, which is mounted in the track right here with these three stripes. And there's the fuel handle. Here are the throttles here. There are two. We have two engines. In flight, these throttles and fuel handle, engine levers rather, fuel lever and engine levers will be forward. Most often the yellow knob will be on the direct setting, DIR, and these two little ramps here on the track will seat those two engine levers. They are operated by a trigger. It's kind of hard to see. There's a little finger trigger there to advance or retard the engine lever. They will be sitting on the other side of these ramps, preventing an elbow or a hand from slapping an engine off in flight. You have to depress that trigger first. So instead of trying to remember all that, especially when you have these T-handles lighting up in your face telling you're on fire, engineers decided let's just have them grab that T-handle and slap it all the way back to the back wall. Doing that arms the fire system. It takes the fuel to off and it kills the engine all the way back. The engine lever goes back and hits an engine stop switch. So most everything that could be making a fire back there is now neutralized. You also have the option of hitting this switch here that's yellow and black. That is the fire extinguishing system. In an emergency egress situation, I would throw the switch down and then immediately throw the switch up. That'll blow all of the fire agent into the engine compartment, hopefully neutralizing any fire to help you egress if someone else is back there waiting to be cut out, or you're on fire or you just want to get away from the fire. After that, the next thing that could cause electrical fire would be, the next thing that causes fire could be electrical system, and the main cutoff for that would be right up here. This is the top right corner near the pilot flying's head. And in flight, you'll have these two last switches on. Simply flip those off. It will take most of the electrical power out of the system. At that point, you're ready to egress. If the blades are turning, there is the rotor brake here. It's a simple pull down into a lock position after pumping until pressure's felt in your hand. Some take more than others, and then it will lock forward. That'll stop the blades from full flight down to 0 in a few seconds. After all that is done, egress should follow. And that's done with the door. Now the door should operate like your back door. You're gonna pull the lock up first and then operate the door handle. If that doesn't work, there is an emergency egress, plastic cover off, copper wire torn, red lever pulled up. These hinges will detach from the helicopter. The door should fall off only if that lock button is up. After that, if you have time and you were truly in a survival situation in the middle of nowhere, the last item to remember is to deploy the ELT. If you haven't hit in an impact of any kind, you'd reach down here next to the pilot's left knee and flip that switch to the on position and walk away from the helicopter. That's about it for the egress after pilot incapacitation on the S-76.